Hello everyone, in this recording I'm going to demo the financial accounting module in our SAP project. The purpose of this module is let us understand how some of the transactions can be directly entered into the financial accounting system and then the overall ERP system. So first, we review the chart of the accounts set up for the global bike company. So later, when we process transactions, you understand which type of accounts we can use to make the journal entries. Before we can process the receipts and make payments, we need to learn something about create the master data, such as a new bank account, a new reconciliation accounts payable account, and a new vendor account. Then we'll process the transactions. First, we'll transfer 5,000 funds from an existing bank account to the new bank account we just created. Then we'll simulate receiving the invoice from the vendor and try to make a payments. So you increase the rental expense and increase the accounts payable by 1,500. And finally, after the invoice is confirmed, we'll make the payments to the vendor. And also we'll review how to generate the different trial balances and financial statements in the SAP system. So that's the motivation and the main tasks. And here is a sequential of the transactions involved and also the person or the position responsible in handling the transactions. In the real business will involve a accounts payable specialist. So accountants majorly focus on the vendor management and accounts payable transactions. Then we have a chief accountant or accounting manager to approve the payment of the invoice. Then we have a related position for fixed asset account because we rent a property and for that's where the invoice is generated by renting the properties. So those are the real job positions involved, but because we are learning this as from a learner's perspective, so you will be doing all of the transactions representing all the three functions, but in reality, you know there are segregation of duties. So it's emphasizing here, before we actually process the transactions, we need to learn what are the accounts available in the system. We want to create a few new master data so you understand whenever you need new financial accounts or some other accounts, we can create with the needs, but only authorized people. Okay, not everyone can create the new tables or new master data as we learned in the Access. Only the authorized users with the right, you can create the related new master data, such as a new vendor or new financial accounts. Also, in the table of contents, we have a summary, the sequential steps in the financial accounting module from step 1 all the way to step 3. The yellow ones I highlighted are the real transactions, means we need to actually perform something, right? So you hit on type a transaction code or use the menu pass to perform a transaction. And the few ones I didn't highlight means they are transactions or steps. We only review the balances or confirm the transactions we have entered into the system. So it's like a check, and so pause and check confirmation rather than adding new data into the system. So step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, and 13 are the real transactions. And now let's go to the review of the chart of the accounts before we process the transactions. And this is a review step. Okay, you are not changing or adding new data into the system. We use this transaction code to help you check and understand what are the available accounts in the global bike company. Later, you can use them to enter all of the transactions. In SAP, when you try to perform a transaction, you can use basically two approach. The first one I call the manual pass. I will show you in a minute in the SAP system. The manual path means you follow the arrows, like the direction for the arrows, by clicking on the menus on the left side of your home page. For example, you can start from the accounting menu, then financial accounting module, then general ledger, information system, general ledger reports, master data, and GL. So that's general ledger accounts list. So that's like you can follow and click. Okay, you need 5 or 6 clicks finally reach the transactions you want to check. That's one approach. The other approach is a shortcut. You can enter a transaction code. Normally in the instruction, I put it in the parentheses. The transaction code you can directly type into the transaction box we open in the SAP module and hit enter. So the system will execute. So this transaction code represents all of the manual steps we are listing here. So in the beginning, you may want to try both so you can get familiar with both ways to perform transactions. Later, after you have more experience and after you understand more of the popular codes, transaction code you need, probably you can use the transaction directly. Okay, so that's the very critical way to understand is apply to all of the real transactions we are going to do in the future steps. Also, when you read the instruction, you see lots of the times, okay, you see this pound, so 2 pound signs, or sometimes 3 pound signs. Those pound signs represent each of your unique, the SAP account number, okay, which I will assign to each of you individually. So this pound is the 2 digits. Okay, each of you have the AIS as the username and then the dash, then you have 2 numbers. So the pound will be the 2 numbers in your user ID. For example, 15 or 25 or 45, or should be 2 digits. So whenever you see this pound, use your own user ID, the numeric value to replace this. And if you sometimes see 3 pound signs, or 3 pound signs, then add a 0 before your own ID. Add a 0, so it's become 3 digits. So 015 or 025. Okay, that's something also pay attention because it's used consistently in all of the SAP instructions. And after you enter or so input all of this required field into the SAP, then you can click execute, and then you can see the outcome after you execute is a return of the chart of the account list for used by the global bike company. This is only the first screenshot. If you continue scrolling down, there are many other accounts available. Okay, so that's the chart of the accounts. is organized by assets, I believe, then maybe revenues. So GBI has its own sequential order of all of the accounts. And these accounts are all representing the master data. So financial master data in the system. Each master data is like the table we used in the Access. So is a entity. Okay, you can think about this is a entity in the Microsoft Access or in a real database model. So each one represents a unique master data and is asking a simple question. Okay, probably you can find out what the chart of the account number to represent the rental expense. We can find the answer in a minute after I get into the SAP system. So before I log into the SAP system, just have a little explanation of the instruction manual. Now I'm going to stop sharing this and share my SAP account. As I just, there's some idle time. Okay, I need to re-log in. So every time when you log in, be careful if they already change back to the default client 000, make sure you change the client number to our course client 365. It's very easy to remember, right? And then put your username and password. If you don't change the client number, no matter how correctly you enter the other two fields, you will be blocked. After you tried 3 times with unsuccessful login, you will be locked out of the system. Or be very careful. So I'm going to use my faculty account. Okay, so that's my account. So after I log in, since I already opened my transaction box, you can see here. If you haven't seen this box yet, follow my prior video, okay, to change the default setting. So it's going from here, so more, and the GUI, graphical user interface actions, and then click on the setting and check the show OK code field. Since I already checked, it's already here. If you haven't checked it yet, so check this and save. Okay, like I already checked, already saved. So check and save and then close it. You should be able to see the transaction box. That's the place I mean you can use the shortcut transaction code. If you follow the manual path, I believe you can start from here. So accounting, financial accounting. So click general ledgers, I believe. Let me double check. Okay, that's a long, yeah, general ledger information system. Okay, general ledger information system and general ledger reports. Then master data, this one. Okay, so when you reach this level, so GL account list. So when you see this cube, okay, means this is the end of your manual path. You couldn't go further, and this is the transaction we are looking for. So you can double click to get into the transaction. Or you can see this is the shortcut transaction code. So the other way is you enter this code directly in the transaction box. Okay, both ways can work. So let me do this first. So double click and you will get into the the page, you enter your chart of account code and your company code. So because for the parent company, we have multiple different users. Okay, each of you have your own individual chart of accounts. So before the system process give you the list, they need to know which chart of accounts you are requesting for, or it's like a data query. So that's one way to do it. So let me try to exit and show you the other way to do that. So input the transaction code directly. So when you type the transaction code into the box, be very careful about so it's not case sensitive, but be careful of the slashes or underscores. I already entered it before, so when I give it the prompt, so it's already pop up. So I just confirm the selection. Okay. So after you input the code, you need to hit enter. Okay, enter is like execute. So now you can see I'm reaching the same data query page as using the manual pass. So using the code saves of times, but in the beginning, the manual pass can help us understand how the transactions under the accounting function or other functions are organized, right? So how they go through the menu step by step, layer by layer. So that's how the accounts or transactions or activities are organized. That's really also be helpful. So after getting on here, check your instruction manual. Under the charts of account, I need to enter the GL, then be careful the pound, okay, your own company code. I'm going to use, I can use whatever, okay, because I have instructor rights. But for you, probably you only can enter your own code for display. So I'm going to do like GL25. Okay, don't use mine. Okay, use your own. So 11, 12, 18. So your own the account ID. And then the company ID, okay, because we work for the US division of the Global Bike. So all of our company code will start from US, then your 2 digits. Be consistent, okay, this code should be consistent with your GL, okay, 25, then 25. So that's like we are inputting system now. We are trying to pull in the chart of the account for this user ID. Then execute is on the right bottom. And now you are going to see a long list, all of the chart of accounts. So we have bank accounts, we have another bank accounts, you have receivables, and then allowance for receivables, and many different types of inventories. And so if you scroll down, it may scroll down slow. Okay, so be patient. So you will have inventories, then prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses are current assets. Then notes receivables, fixed assets. That can include your equipment, machineries. Then we have accumulated depreciation, which is a contra asset. Then we have land, property, plant, and equipment, and others. So fixed assets may be some other, like maybe furnitures, or but so you do have a couple of items related to long-term assets, accumulated depreciations. Even vehicles, we do have intangible assets and amortizations. So by here, you can see that the end of the list for the assets. And then starting from the account number 3, so 300,000, you start to see the liability accounts. So assets, then liabilities. The liabilities, we have trade accounts. So trade accounts means the payables generated from purchasing or receiving services without payments. Okay, so that's your regular accounts payables. So we have accounts payable for income tax only, then miscellaneous payables and interest payables. Then we have two notes payables, short term, long term, and salary and wage payables and other accrued expense. The goods receipt, invoice receipt, the 310000 is a special we call reconciliation temporary accounts. We are going to use this account when we move to the purchasing related transactions. That's something I normally call a temporary accounts payable before we confirm the payments. So it's a temporary accounts payable. And then you have some accrued. So by the end of unearned revenue, right? That's all of your current and long-term liability accounts. Then continue, you see the shareholders' equity starting from common stock, additional paid-in capital, returned earning. Okay, we have three main shareholders' equity account, or even the number we continue on the 3. Then, starting from the 6 numbers, you start to see the revenue and the related accounts. Okay, revenue and related. Majorly, you have the sales revenues, sales discount, revenue deductions, gain or losses, service revenues, okay, and then the others. So the 6 numbers are the different revenue and discount related accounts. Then the numbers starting from 7, you see expenses and cost expenses. So we have the labor expense. Remember in the instruction manual, there is a question ask you identify what's the account number for rental expense. Did you see this? So rental expense, the account number is 740300. When we confirm receive the invoice, we are going to use this account to recognize the rental expense. Okay, different telecommunication expenses, supply expenses, then payroll expenses. Okay, so 7s are all expenses. And then, and this one, 780000 is your cost of goods sold. And this one, we are going to use it to recognize the cost of goods sold after we sell the products. So that's something happens in the sales module. Okay, 7. And the 8,000, be careful, that's a special accounts group under SAP. They call allocation accounts. So those accounts are normally accumulate some common overhead expenses and allocated to the to cost centers. So especially related to cost and expense accumulation and allocation. Okay, that's for example, if you use activity-based accounting allocations, you are going to touch on the 8,000 accounts. And for our learning, we don't have time to go over that. But when you do product costing on the SAP, we'll use those group of accounts. So this is a understanding. So you haven't done anything. It's just a review or display the chart of accounts. And even for this, you have different options. So for example, if this is not a web-based, if we have a cloud-based or like the SAP app, you can make the display as a table, and you can filter it, you can sort, and also can print directly the list of the menus. And if you click on any of the accounts, if you want to check some more details, you can highlight this account and use this one. Okay, it's like a magnified like glass. So click on that. That's the detail. So detailed for this bank account. Okay, you can see it belongs to the user 25 or company code, chart of accounts number, and it's the name. Okay, the name of this account. Okay, some of the details. Okay, I will stop here for this recording, and we'll pick up the steps later. Okay, in another recording to prevent I have to the recording is too long to review later.